At my husband's memorial service, while the church was filled with soft sobs and whispered prayers, my phone buzzed quietly in my lap. I tried to ignore it at first. After all, this was supposed to be a final goodbye, the last chance to honor a man who had been my partner for nearly 20 years. My hands trembled as I slipped the phone out of my purse, thinking it was just another message of sympathy from a family friend who couldn't attend. But the moment I opened it, my breath caught in my throat. On the glowing screen, a single text stared back at me. "I'm alive. Don't trust anyone." My husband's name flashed at the top of the message thread. My heart began pounding so loudly, I thought people around me might hear it. My chest felt tight, my throat dry. I glanced around the crowded pews, his brothers, his mother, our neighbors, even the mayor of our small town, all sitting there with solemn faces, eyes glued to the coffin draped in flowers at the front of the church. A coffin that, according to everything I'd been told, carried the body of my husband, Michael. The room seemed to spin. Was this some cruel joke? Or could it really be him? My hands shook so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but I froze. Who could I even trust? If the message was real, then the smiling faces around me, faces I had known for years, suddenly felt like masks hiding secrets. And that's when I noticed it. A man in a dark suit, seated near the back, staring directly at me. He didn't blink. He didn't look away, almost as if he knew I had just read something I shouldn't have. My pulse quickened. The phone slipped from my sweaty hand and landed on the polished wooden floor with a soft thud. Heads turned. I forced a weak smile, quickly scooped it up, and tucked it back into my purse. But my mind was racing. If Michael was alive, then whose body was in that coffin? And why would he tell me not to trust anyone? Before I could even gather my thoughts, the pastor's voice broke through the heavy silence of the church. "We will now invite the family to say their final words." Everyone's eyes turned to me. My knees went weak. My hands were cold. I stood, but inside I was breaking apart. Should I pretend nothing happened? Or should I tell them all what I had just seen? That's when the man in the back rose quietly from his seat and began walking down the aisle toward me. The truth is, what happened at that memorial didn't begin in that moment. No, the story of how my world turned upside down started long before, with an old woman I met by chance just a few months earlier. And perhaps, if I had listened to her carefully enough, I might have been ready for what happened at Michael's memorial. It was a cold afternoon in late January. I had gone to the local diner on Main Street for coffee and a slice of cherry pie, my little ritual after running errands. That's when I saw her. She sat alone at the corner booth, her back hunched, her gray hair neatly pinned. But her eyes were the kind that carried storms inside them. I don't know what pulled me toward her. Maybe it was the way she sat with her hands folded, untouched coffee in front of her, as though she was waiting for someone who would never come. "Would you like some company?" I asked, sliding into the seat across from her before I could change my mind. She looked up slowly, studying me with piercing blue eyes. Then she smiled faintly. "Kindness," she whispered. "It's so rare these days." We talked for hours. Her name was Eleanor. She told me stories about her late husband, about raising children during hard times, about neighbors who once helped one another without expecting anything in return. There was something in her words that reminded me of what mattered in life: kindness, patience, empathy. "Life is like a circle," she told me softly, "and how you treat others always comes back around. Sometimes when you least expect it." Those words clung to me long after I left the diner. I didn't know then how much I would need them. Because just a few weeks later, my husband Michael didn't come home one night, and everything changed. The police found his car abandoned near the river. His wallet and phone were missing. Days later, they told me they had found his body downstream. I remember collapsing on the floor, unable to breathe, unable to understand. But what I didn't know at the time was that Eleanor's words, that circle of kindness and trust, were about to be tested in ways I never imagined. And now, standing at his memorial with that text glowing in my purse, I realized something else. The circle was about to close. The man in the dark suit was only a few steps away from me when I froze, my hand gripping the edge of the pew. I couldn't tell if he was coming to offer sympathy or to silence me before I could say anything. And just as he reached me, my phone buzzed again. The church was silent except for the echo of the man's shoes clicking against the floor as he drew closer. My chest tightened with every step he took. My phone buzzed again in my purse, the sound muffled but urgent, like a warning bell only I could hear. I forced a smile at the people staring, then lowered myself back onto the pew, pretending to fumble with my skirt as the man stopped directly beside me. "Mrs. Carter," he said softly. His voice was calm, but his eyes, dark, steady, felt as if they were stripping away every layer of my thoughts. "The family will want you near the podium now." I nodded quickly, not trusting my voice. He gave a polite bow of his head and gestured toward the front of the church, then turned away as though he had only been an usher doing his duty. But I knew better. He wasn't a member of this church. He wasn't family. He was a stranger, and strangers don't stare like that. My hands trembled as I slipped the phone out just enough to read the new message. "He's watching you. Don't let them know." My blood turned cold. Who was watching me? The man in the suit? Or everyone in the room? I rose shakily to my feet, all eyes on me, and began walking down the aisle toward the coffin. Each step felt heavier than the last. Memories of Michael flooded me. The way he laughed at his own jokes. The way he left sticky notes on the fridge just to remind me to smile. Could all of that really be gone? Or was there something here I wasn't supposed to see? I reached the podium, staring at the coffin draped in lilies. I could barely breathe. My voice cracked as I began. Michael was more than my husband. He was my best friend. The words tumbled out slowly, a blur of memories and half-formed sentences. People dabbed at their eyes, sniffles echoing in the pews. But my heart wasn't in the eulogy. My heart was on that phone, the words burning inside my mind. I'm alive. Don't trust anyone. When I finally sat back down, my neighbor leaned close, whispering, "You were so strong up there." Her perfume was thick, sweet, suffocating. I forced another smile, but I wanted to scream. Strong? I felt like I was drowning. After the service, people gathered in small groups outside the church, hugging, whispering, reminiscing. I stood alone by the steps, the cold February wind biting my cheeks. That's when Eleanor appeared. Yes, Eleanor, the same old woman from the diner. She shuffled slowly up the church steps, clutching her cane, her eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my stomach twist. "I told you," she said quietly when she reached me. "Life is a circle. It always comes back." "What are you talking about?" I whispered, my voice breaking. She squeezed my hand, her grip surprisingly strong. "You're going to need kindness more than ever now, and you'll need to know who deserves yours." Before I could ask her anything more, she was swallowed by the crowd, disappearing like smoke. For a moment I stood frozen, the words replaying in my head. Then I remembered the phone. I pulled it from my purse again, shielding it with my coat. There was another message. This time it was only 3 words. "Don't go home." My breath caught. My home? The house Michael and I built together? The only safe place I thought I had left? Why couldn't I go there? The crowd around me laughed softly, shared old stories, tears mixing with smiles. To anyone else, this was a normal memorial gathering. But to me, it felt like the world had tilted. And then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw the man in the suit again. He wasn't mingling, wasn't talking. He was watching me. Still. Always. And when he noticed I'd seen him, he raised a finger to his lips, as if to warn me to keep quiet. The man's finger pressed to his lips burned into my mind like a brand, a silent warning. My body stiffened as though my feet were nailed to the church steps. I wanted to confront him, to demand answers, but my instincts screamed louder. Stay quiet. Pretend you know nothing. So I did. I turned away, hugging myself against the cold wind. People filed into their cars, heading to the reception hall for food and condolences. I lingered, praying that if I just blended into the flow, the man would lose interest. But when I finally stepped into the parking lot, there he was again, leaning against a black sedan, arms crossed, eyes fixed on me. My stomach twisted. I couldn't breathe. I fumbled for my car keys, but then I remembered the text. Don't go home. If I couldn't go home, then where? I slid into the driver's seat, forcing my trembling hands to grip the wheel. As I pulled out of the parking lot, I glanced in the rearview mirror. The black sedan eased onto the road behind me, keeping its distance but never disappearing. I tried to calm myself, whispering under my breath. Think, Sarah. Think. That's when I thought of Eleanor again. Her strange words. Her sudden appearance at the church. Maybe, just maybe, she knew more than she let on. Instead of heading toward my quiet street where the yellow porch light would be waiting, I turned in the opposite direction, toward the diner where we first met. The neon sign buzzed weakly when I pulled up. The place looked nearly empty, just a few truckers sipping coffee inside. I slipped into a booth near the back, my eyes darting toward the door every few seconds. Eleanor wasn't there. I ordered tea just to keep the waitress from asking questions. My phone buzzed again. You're not safe there either. Trust no one inside. I froze, nearly dropping the cup. My eyes scanned the diner, the truckers, the waitress with tired eyes, the cook flipping burgers behind the counter. All ordinary faces. But now, every one of them looked like a mask. A shadow passed by the window. I stiffened. The black sedan was parked across the street. The man in the suit was sitting inside, his silhouette clear under the streetlight. He wasn't hiding anymore. He wanted me to know he was there. I took a shaky breath, tears stinging my eyes. I wanted Michael back. I wanted my life back. And yet here I was, hiding in a diner with strangers, clutching a phone that had turned my world upside down. Everything okay, sweetheart? The waitress asked, leaning closer with a concerned smile. I opened my mouth to answer, then stopped. My phone buzzed again. This time the message was longer. If you tell anyone, you'll put them in danger. Get up, go to the bathroom, now. My heart nearly exploded out of my chest. My legs felt like they belonged to someone else as I slid out of the booth, forcing a smile at the waitress, and walked toward the back. I pushed open the bathroom door and locked it behind me. My hands shook as I placed the phone on the sink. The screen lit up again before I could catch my breath. There's a package hidden in your house. They don't know I left it for you. Find it before they do. I covered my mouth to stop from gasping. A package? In my house? The same house I had just been warned not to return. Before I could process it, a heavy knock shook the bathroom door. Ma'am, a man's voice called. You dropped something in the booth. I froze. It wasn't the waitress. It wasn't anyone I recognized. The handle rattled. Once, twice, harder the third time. Open the door. My heart slammed against my ribs. I backed away, pressing against the tiled wall, my phone buzzing again in my hand. The rattling handle sent chills racing down my spine. Whoever stood outside wasn't just politely knocking anymore. They were demanding entry. I pressed my back tighter against the wall, clutching my phone like it was my only weapon. My breath came in shallow gasps. Open the door, the man's voice repeated, firmer this time. I didn't move. I didn't speak. Every instinct screamed at me to stay silent. Then, another buzz from my phone. I fumbled to unlock it, my eyes blurring from the tears I'd been holding back. Don't open it. Wait until the third knock, then climb out the window. Hurry. I spun around. My eyes darted to the tiny bathroom window above the toilet. It was small, grimy, probably never meant to be an escape route. But it was my only chance. The second knock thundered against the wood. I dragged a stool from the corner, my hands trembling so badly it nearly slipped from my grip. I climbed up, knees wobbling, fingers pushing at the rusty frame of the window. It groaned, resisting, but I shoved harder until it creaked open just enough. The third knock shook the door so violently I thought it might splinter. I didn't think. I just climbed. My arms scraped against the glass. My dress snagged on a nail, but somehow I wriggled through and dropped hard onto the gravel outside. The cold air slapped me in the face. My knees stung from the fall, but I forced myself to run. Around the corner of the diner, through the narrow alley where dumpsters lined the walls. My heart pounded in my ears. Then I heard it. The bathroom door slamming open behind me. Heavy footsteps. A man's angry voice shouting something I couldn't make out. I didn't stop. I darted into the street, nearly colliding with a couple walking their dog. "Sorry!" I gasped, pushing past them. My eyes flicked wildly until I spotted my car still parked where I'd left it. I dove inside, slamming the lock down, fumbling with the keys. The engine roared to life. I pulled away just as the black sedan's headlights flared behind me. They were following. Again. Tears spilled down my cheeks as I gripped the wheel. My whole body trembled, but through the fear, Eleanor's words echoed in my head. Life is a circle. Kindness always comes back. I thought of all the people who had once been kind to me. The neighbor who shoveled my driveway when Michael was sick. The cashier who paid for my groceries when I forgot my wallet. Even Eleanor herself, who had sat with me like an old friend when I'd been lonely. Was that circle of kindness the only thing keeping me alive now? The sedan's headlights loomed larger in my rearview mirror. I had to make a choice. Obey the warning not to go home, or defy it and search for the package hidden in my house before they found it first. My phone buzzed again. Go now, before it's too late. I gripped the wheel tighter, turning sharply onto my street. My porch light glowed in the distance like a beacon. My house, the place I had been told to avoid, now felt like the only place I could possibly find answers. I pulled into the driveway, heart pounding, headlights sweeping across the garage door. But something was wrong. The front door of my house was already open. The sight of my front door standing open froze me in the driveway. The cold night air seemed to spill from the darkened doorway like a warning. My hands clutched the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles ached. Someone was inside. For a long moment, I sat in the car, headlights washing over the porch, praying it was just the wind. But the door hadn't been ajar when I left for the memorial. And Michael's voice echoed in my mind through that text. Don't go home. Yet here I was. I reached for my phone with shaking fingers. Another message blinked across the screen. Be careful, they're looking for it. Don't let them find it first. The package. My stomach churned. What could possibly be hidden in this house that Michael hadn't told me about when he was alive? And more importantly, what if the people already inside had found it? I killed the headlights, shut the car door gently, and crept toward the porch. Every step crunched against the gravel, each sound magnified in the silence of the night. My heart pounded so loudly I was sure anyone inside would hear it. I pushed the door slowly. It groaned on its hinges. The living room stretched before me, dimly lit by the glow of the streetlight outside. Nothing looked disturbed. The photos of Michael and me still lined the mantel, the cushions still neatly arranged on the couch. But the silence was heavy. Too heavy. I slipped inside, careful to keep the door from creaking shut behind me. The faint smell of coffee lingered in the air, though I hadn't brewed any before leaving for the memorial. Someone was here. I pressed against the wall, listening. A faint shuffle came from upstairs. My body stiffened. I thought of Eleanor's words again, about kindness coming back around. For years, Michael had told me I was too trusting, too willing to see the good in people. But what if that very trust had brought danger into my home? Still, I crept toward the staircase, one step at a time. My foot landed on the creaky third step, and I froze, holding my breath. Silence. Then, another shuffle, quicker this time. I glanced at my phone. No new messages, no guidance. I was on my own. The hallway stretched before me like a tunnel. I passed our bedroom door. It was half open, moonlight spilling across the bedspread. I pushed gently, scanning the room. Empty. Then I saw it. On Michael's nightstand sat a small wooden box I'd never seen before. It was old, carved with strange markings, and out of place in a room where everything else was familiar. My hand trembled as I reached for it, but just as my fingers touched the lid, I heard the unmistakable sound of a floorboard creaking. Right behind me. The floorboard creaked again. My body stiffened, my hand still resting on the carved wooden box. I didn't dare turn around. The air behind me felt heavy, charged, as though someone was standing there, waiting. I swallowed hard. "Who's there?" My voice cracked, barely more than a whisper. No answer. Slowly, I turned my head, every muscle screaming at me to stop. At first, I saw only the shadow stretching across the hallway wall. Broad shoulders, tall frame. Then, movement. A man stepped forward, his face partially hidden by the dim glow from the window. It wasn't the stranger from the church. No. This man was younger, scruffier, with wild eyes that darted around the room as though he was both predator and prey. "Don't touch that," he hissed, pointing at the box. My hand jerked back instinctively. My breath came quick and shallow. "Who are you?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He ignored the question, his gaze locked on the nightstand. "Where is it?" "Where is what?" "The key," he snapped. His voice cracked with desperation. "He hid it. I know he did." The key. My heart pounded in my chest. What key? What was Michael involved in? I took a cautious step back. "I don't know what you're talking about. My husband, he's gone." The man's eyes narrowed. "Gone? No. He's alive, isn't he?" The words hit me like a blow. Did this stranger know the truth? Or was he just taunting me? Before I could respond, his expression shifted, almost pained. He rubbed his temples, muttering to himself. "They'll come soon. I can't let them have it. I can't." A noise outside cut him off. A car door slammed. Another. More than one. Headlights swept across the window. The man's eyes widened in panic. "They're here," he whispered. He lunged toward me, grabbing my arm. "You have to hide it before they find you." My heart raced as footsteps thundered across the porch downstairs. Voices, low, commanding. Whoever they weren't here for condolences. The man shoved me toward the closet, his grip like iron. "Hide it! Hide it now!" Before I could even protest, the front door downstairs exploded open with a violent crash. The crash of the front door splitting open sent a jolt through my body. Splinters of wood cracked, echoing up the staircase like gunfire. Heavy boots thundered inside, shaking the floorboards beneath me. The scruffy man's grip on my arm tightened. "Hide it now!" he whispered fiercely, shoving me toward the closet. I stumbled inside, clutching the wooden box against my chest. My breath came fast and shallow as the door clicked shut. Darkness swallowed me, broken only by a thin sliver of moonlight through the closet slats. From outside, voices barked orders. "Upstairs. Search everything. Don't leave a trace." My heart pounded so loudly I thought it would give me away. The scruffy man whispered through the door. "Don't move. Don't make a sound. Whatever happens, don't open that box until you're told." And then, he was gone. The footsteps grew louder, climbing the stairs. Each thud rattled my bones. I hugged the box tighter, praying Eleanor's words about kindness and circles would somehow protect me now. I thought of Michael, his smile, his hand brushing mine on summer evenings, the way he'd tell me everything was going to be okay even when it wasn't. Had he known this would happen? Had he tried to protect me by hiding this package? A door burst open across the hall. Furniture scraped, drawers slammed, a man cursed. They were tearing my home apart. Then, silence. A shadow moved across the closet door. My breath caught. The doorknob twisted slowly, painfully. The door creaked open. A beam of light from a flashlight blinded me. "There you are," a deep voice said. Strong hands yanked me out, the wooden box nearly tumbling from my grip. I blinked against the harsh light and saw two men, both dressed in black, faces hard, eyes cold. One of them snatched the box from my hands. "What's this?" I tried to protest, but my voice cracked. "It's mine, please." The man sneered, tapping the carved lid. "No, this doesn't belong to you." Before I could respond, a shout came from downstairs. "She's not supposed to be touched. Orders were clear." The man holding me hesitated. His grip loosened just slightly, confusion flashing across his face. And in that split second, the scruffy man exploded back into the room. He swung a heavy lamp with a force that sent the first intruder crashing into the dresser. The second man lunged, but the scruffy stranger tackled him, sending the box flying across the floor. It slid toward me, stopping at my feet. I dropped to my knees, reaching for it. My fingers brushed the lid. But before I could grab it, the box popped open on its own, revealing something inside that made my blood run cold. The lid of the box creaked open as though an unseen hand had lifted it. A faint glow pulsed from within, soft yet unnatural, casting long shadows on the walls. My breath caught in my throat. Inside, nestled on dark velvet, was not money, not jewels, but something far stranger. A bundle of brittle letters tied with crimson ribbon, and beneath them, a small black object that seemed to hum, faintly vibrating as though alive. The intruder nearest me froze mid-lunge, his eyes widening in shock. You weren't supposed to see that." The scruffy man slammed him against the wall. "She was never supposed to be part of this." His voice cracked with fury and desperation. I stared at the object, transfixed. The glow from the letters reflected in my eyes, and for a moment the world around me faded. The fight, the shouts, the chaos. I felt drawn. My fingertips tingled as if urging me to touch it. "Don't," the scruffy man barked, noticing my hand reaching. "Not you. Not now." But it was too late. My fingers brushed the ribbon. A sound like rushing wind filled the room, though the windows were shut tight. The glow brightened, swirling, almost alive. One of the men in black staggered back in terror, crossing himself under his breath. "What is this?" I whispered, my voice trembling. The scruffy man didn't answer. Instead, he shoved the lid down, cutting off the glow, and yanked me to my feet. "We need to move. They'll kill us both for this." Before I could protest, the man in black who had been pinned regained his footing and drew something from his coat. Not a gun, but a silver blade that glinted in the moonlight. His eyes locked on me, not the scruffy man. "You," he hissed. "You touched it. That means you've chosen your side." Chosen my side? The words rattled in my head like chains. The scruffy man pushed me behind him, his own body tense and ready. "Run," he whispered. "When I say go, run and don't look back." But I didn't run. I couldn't. My eyes stayed fixed on the box, the faint hum still vibrating through the floorboards, as though calling me. And deep down, I knew. Whatever was inside that box wasn't just dangerous. It was mine. The blade flashed toward us, silver catching the moonlight like a deadly whisper. Instinct kicked in. I ducked, the air slicing past my cheek, close enough to sting. The scruffy man caught the attacker's wrist mid-swing, twisting with a strength I hadn't expected from his wiry frame. The knife clattered to the floorboards. But before relief could settle, 2 more men in black stormed through the doorway, their heavy boots thundering against the old wood. We were outnumbered. "Take the woman alive," one barked. "She touched it. She's valuable now." My stomach dropped. Valuable? To them? For what? The scruffy man shoved me toward the narrow back staircase. "Move." His voice left no room for argument. My legs, shaky and weak, obeyed. We stumbled down the creaking steps, the sound of pursuit crashing after us like a wave. At the bottom, the hallway stretched into darkness. I felt his hand tighten around mine as we sprinted, turning blindly, crashing into walls and doors. My heart hammered, not just from fear, but from something stranger. The hum of the box. Even shut, even left upstairs, I could feel it thrumming through me, as if a thread now tied me to it. "Who are they?" I gasped between breaths. "Not now," he snapped. "Then who are you?" For the first time, he glanced at me, his face tight with something like regret. "A friend of your husband." The word struck me harder than the chase. My husband? The man we'd just buried? My husband who was supposed to be dead? Before I could ask more, gunfire shattered the silence, bullets splintering the wall near my head. I screamed, ducking low. He pulled me through a side door that led outside into the night air. The forest loomed, dark and endless. Crickets sang their careless song as if the world weren't crashing down around me. We ran. Branches whipped at my arms, thorns tearing my clothes. Behind us, flashlights bobbed like hungry eyes, beams slicing through the trees. Finally, we collapsed beside a fallen log, gasping for breath. He placed a finger over his lips, motioning me to stay silent. The lights drew closer, then passed, fading into the woods. For a moment, it was just us, the night, and the sound of my racing heartbeat. I turned on him, whispering fiercely, "You said you were his friend. If that's true, then tell me. Did my husband send that text?" His jaw clenched. His eyes darted to the ground, refusing to meet mine. "He's not dead, Emily. But if you want answers, you'll have to survive tonight first." The world tilted beneath me. My breath caught in my throat. My husband wasn't dead? But before I could demand more, a chilling sound echoed through the woods, sharp and metallic. The click of a gun being cocked. A cold voice spoke from the shadows. "Then neither of you will be leaving these woods alive." The night split open with the metallic click of the gun. My body froze, every nerve screaming at once. The voice came from just beyond the tree line, low and steady. "Step away from the woman." The scruffy man didn't move. His hand tightened around mine until it hurt, steadying me as my knees shook. He slowly raised his other hand, palm open. "You don't have to do this," he called back. A laugh slithered through the darkness, cruel and certain. "Orders are orders. She touched it. That makes her dangerous. And you should have known better than to interfere." A flashlight beam sliced across the clearing, and for the first time, I saw the man holding the gun. His face was hard, eyes cold, dressed in the same black uniform as the others. Only this one wore a symbol stitched onto his jacket, a circle with 3 jagged lines crossing through it. I didn't know what it meant, but the scruffy man stiffened the moment he saw it. His voice dropped, urgent in my ear. "Whatever happens, don't run. Running will get you killed faster." I swallowed hard, my legs trembling. "Then what do we do?" He didn't answer. Instead, he stepped slightly in front of me, shielding my body with his own. The gunman sneered. "Last chance. Walk away and leave her. The order was to bring her, Not you." The scruffy man's jaw tightened. "I made a promise to her husband." Those words pierced me like a blade. A promise? To my husband? The gun rose higher, aimed at my chest now. My breath came shallow, ragged. I thought of the text, the words flashing in my mind like a warning burned into my skin. I'm alive. Don't trust anyone. But if my husband was alive, then why weren't they letting me find him? Why did they want me dead? The shot rang out. I dropped to the ground, ears ringing, eyes squeezed shut. The smell of gunpowder burned in my nose. But there was no pain. When I opened my eyes, I saw the scruffy man on top of the gunman, the weapon knocked aside, both of them locked in a brutal struggle. Fists, grunts, the sound of bones cracking. It was chaos. "Run, Emily," the scruffy man bellowed. I hesitated, torn between fear and disbelief. But before I could decide, another beam of light flared in the trees. More men, more guns. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. No matter what choice I made, I was trapped. Because either way, the people who claimed to know the truth about my husband were going to kill me before I ever found out. The clearing exploded with chaos. The scruffy man wrestled on the ground with the gunman, each blow heavier than the last. But the sound of approaching footsteps told me there wasn't much time. More of them were coming. "Go!" he shouted again, blood streaking his face under the moonlight. I stumbled backward, my breath ragged, my body trembling so hard I could barely stand. The forest stretched like a maze around me, every tree a shadow, every rustle a threat. But his command rang in my ears. I couldn't stay. I turned and ran. Branches clawed at my arms, ripping my sleeves. My lungs burned. My legs screamed in protest, but terror pushed me faster. Behind me, the sounds of fighting and shouts grew louder, closer. They weren't just after him. They were after me. Then, crack. A gunshot tore through the night. I froze mid-stride, heart stopping. The echo carried through the forest. I didn't dare turn around. What if it had hit him? "Emily," a voice shouted, not his voice, but one of theirs. Too close, too hungry. I forced my legs to move, plunging deeper into the dark. Roots tripped me, stones bit into my knees, but I scrambled up each time. My mind replayed the text over and over. I'm alive. Don't trust anyone. Alive. My husband was alive. And now strangers with guns wanted to silence me before I could ever find him. I burst into a small clearing where the moonlight spilled silver across a broken-down shack. Its roof sagged, its door half-hanging, but it was shelter. I darted inside, pressing my back against the rotting wood, trying to silence my breathing. The forest outside stirred with movement. Flashlights danced across the trees. She can't have gone far. Spread out. Check the shack. My blood ran cold. The shack had no back door, no window big enough to crawl through. Just walls, wood, and the sound of boots crunching closer. I looked around desperately, and my eyes landed on something strange. On the floor, beneath layers of dust and leaves, a trapdoor. Barely visible, but there. My heart pounded in my ears as the footsteps drew closer. A beam of light flashed across the shack's doorway. I dropped to my knees, clawing at the trapdoor, my fingers raw against the old wood. It wouldn't budge at first. Then finally, creak. It opened, revealing blackness below. Without thinking, I slipped inside and pulled the door shut just as the shack door slammed open above me. Silence. Then the sound of boots stomping overhead. Voices, flashlights sweeping. I held my breath in the darkness, praying they wouldn't hear the thunder of my heart. Then one of them spoke, his voice sharp. She's tied to him now. If she lives, everything falls apart. The weight of his words pressed on me harder than the darkness itself. Who was him? My husband? Or someone else? The air beneath the shack was damp, stale, and filled with the scent of earth. I crouched low, pressing my hand over my mouth, fighting to silence every breath. Above me, boots stomped. Flashlights pierced cracks in the rotting floorboards, thin beams slicing through the darkness. She's not here. Then where is she? Their voices rattled the boards overhead. I pressed myself deeper into the soil, trembling. Then silence. The boots retreated. For a long moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, they were gone. But then, a slow creak. The trapdoor above me shifted. My heart stopped. A beam of light blazed into the space where I hid. "There," a voice hissed. I gasped. Then, out of nowhere, the scruffy man lunged from the tree line outside, slamming into the intruder with brute force. The flashlight tumbled to the ground, its beam spinning wildly. The trapdoor slammed shut again. Shouts, gunfire, chaos erupted outside. I stayed frozen in the darkness, terrified to move, until the shooting stopped. Silence fell. Then, slowly, the trapdoor creaked open again. His bloodied face appeared, battered but alive. "Emily," he panted. "We don't have much time. They'll send more." He extended his hand. My whole body trembled as I grabbed it, letting him pull me out. The night air hit me like a slap. "We have to go," he said. "And you need to know the truth before they find you again." We stumbled through the woods together, guided only by moonlight, until we reached a clearing where an abandoned pickup truck sat hidden under branches. He shoved the door open, pushed me inside, and started the engine. The rumble was a lifeline in the silence. Only when we were miles away did he finally speak. "Your husband, Daniel. He's alive. He faked his death to protect you." The words knocked the breath from my chest. "Protect me? From what?" "From them," he said. "The men in black. They belong to a network, a group that wants the box and everything tied to it. Daniel discovered something they were hiding, something powerful enough to change everything. That's why they tried to erase him, and why they'll do the same to you now that you've touched it." I sat frozen, my mind spinning. Then that text, "I'm alive. Don't trust anyone. It was real. It was him." Yes. His eyes flicked to me, sharp and pained. But it also means he's still running. And if they find him, if they find you, it's over. Tears blurred my vision. All this time, I buried him. I grieved him. And he's been alive? His voice softened. "He couldn't let you in. It was the only way to keep you safe. But when you opened that box, everything changed." The truck rattled over a bridge. For the first time since this nightmare began, I allowed myself a spark of hope. "If he's alive," I whispered, "then I'll find him." The scruffy man didn't answer. His jaw tightened, eyes fixed on the road. That silence said more than words ever could. The truck rolled to a stop on a cliffside overlooking the city. Dawn was breaking, painting the horizon in soft shades of pink and gold. For a moment, it felt almost peaceful. Then he pulled something from his jacket. A phone. My husband's phone. "I was supposed to destroy this," he said, his voice breaking. "But if you truly want to find him, this is your only chance." He handed it to me. My hands shook as I took it, pressing the button. The screen lit up. One message glowed unread. From Daniel. 3 words. "Don't trust him." My breath caught. My stomach dropped. The man beside me, my supposed protector, the one who'd saved me again and again, stared at me, waiting. His eyes were unreadable. Was he the friend or the enemy? The engine ticked in the silence. My pulse roared in my ears. I looked at him, clutching the phone like a lifeline, my husband's warning echoing in my mind. And I knew in that moment that my nightmare was only beginning.